other side.
Question one, like, who the heck am I? Who's Fernando Valencia? Why should you care? That's a great question. And a lot of times, maybe it's you, maybe it's not. I hear it all the time. I speak on stages all over the world. And something that is always on a percentage of the crowd and in the minds and the humans I'm speaking to is, why should I listen to a 34-year-old? I just turned 34 November 1st. I used to say 33. I gotta say 34 now. I gotta take some getting used to. Yes, the years just keep chalking it up and growing. As they say, the years just keep passing faster and faster. Some of you might be saying, dude, I have genes older than you. I could be your father, your mother, or whatever. What value does a 34-year-old have to possibly give me? Listen, I'm not offended. What I would share to you is you might be asking the wrong question. And here would be a more optimal question. And I share this not to impress you, but simply impress upon you the conversation we're going to have. So this is not to impress you, just to impress upon you the conversation we're about to have. The proper question would be, why was this 34-year-old in 2022 named one of the most influential philanthropic immigrants in the nation, received the Beacon Award from the Ellis Island Honor Society as one of the top 15 most influential philanthropic immigrants in the nation? Yes, first generation American, built my first $1 million business when I was 21, but scratch all that. Here would be some proper context. Why does Elizabeth McKenna, voted the #1 woman in financial services by Forbes magazine, here in the great state of New Jersey, works with Merrill Lynch, why does she call me coach? Why does Andrea Cattaneo, who's on the board of the National Investment Banking Association, who's taken 200 companies public into 7 different ways you could take a company public, why does she call me coach? Why does Matthew Ailman, who's on the head of the board of the New York State Society of CPAs, why does he call me coach? Why does Maritza, former senior executive for Exxon, a Fortune 10 company, head of HR, why does she call me coach? Why does David Tyree, who caught the most iconic pass in Super Bowl history for the Giants to beat the Patriots, and if they're not your team, I'm sorry, they were certainly mine, why does he call me coach? And what does any of this have to do with you? Well, in Fun Energy, why does Dr. Pano Churchill, Winston Churchill's grandson, who created the antibiotics for tuberculosis, who I had the privilege of coaching him to speak at the United Nations, to have a standing ovation, P.S. I don't even know how to spell tuberculosis. Why does he call me coach? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a wealth advisor. I've certainly never had a corporate job. I'm definitely not a doctor. So what value does this 34-year-old possibly have to give these and so many other humans? Well, the answer is integrity-based human influence. That's the value I have to give them. And if I have, with respect and humility, the ability to give them value, maybe, just maybe, we have some value to give you. That's why we have year-long, for my medical community folks, we have year-long relationships with multiple medical associations. We are the official arbitration partner for the Mississippi Medical Association, the Alabama Medical Association. We're going to finalize. I'm meeting with Dr. Thomas Lee tomorrow at the New York Medical Society. We just got passed to have the Alaska Medical Association say yes. I'm meeting with the board of the Louisiana Medical Association. We have meetings and we're in conversation with 21 other statewide medical associations. We are the preferred arbitration partner, the only arbitration partner for the Congress of Neurological Surgeons, 13,000 members. We're in the final stages. We had the privilege of meeting in Philly with the American Alliance of Orthopedic Executives. We're in conversation with multiple hospital associations. We're in conversations in the final stages with the American Society of Anesthesia and multiple others, California Society of Anesthesia, Georgia Society of Anesthesia, Florida Society of Anesthesia. So if all these conversations are happening, if we're in conversations with the, I believe it's called the Spine Health Foundation, who has the top 7 spine associations as their board members. We're going to be meeting with Eric, who is the executive director president of the National Association of Spine Surgeons, and we've also had a final meeting with the American Society of Plastic Surgeons with Jennifer Cross and Amanda. Plastic surgery is not done yet. NASS, National Association of Spine Surgeons, is not done yet. We're in conversations with these folks, but all the other ones that I've mentioned, they've said yes. If associations like that would say yes, then why wouldn't you at least be open to hearing the conversation that we have to share with each and every single one of you? So that's a bit about me. And yes, we're doing it live, we're raw, we're fun, we're here in the studio. Sean's literally right next door, we're having a whole meeting, there's laughter. Who knows what's happening over there? Because business is supposed to be fun, and we're real, and we're raw. and we are authentic, and we're telling you what it is and what it isn't. So again, that was just a bit about who I am. And if you're like, dude, I'm just interested in what you have to say, no problem, thank you for watching. But that was for those to contextualize the listening of, with respect, who I am and the value that we're about to provide to you, one, in the Zoom you might have with me, and in the following videos we're going to have. So again, my name is Fernando Valencia. I'm the Director of Actualizer Success for Callagy Recovery. I'm the co-founder of ActI and Unblinded, and I'm spearing the growth of the rest of our enterprise. And what do they all have to do with one another? Why is there like Unblinded to my left? Why is there a Callagy Law to my right? Why is Callagy Recovery there? Why am I wearing ActI on my chest? Because it's all the same thing. And I'll explain a bit more of that, how all of these organizations interconnect when I share in video 1, 2, 3, which is who is Callagy Law, Callagy Recovery, and why should you care? I'll integrate all of that, but here's a brief one. Sean Callagy is the founder of Callagy Law, founder of Callagy Recovery, co-founder of Unblinded, and we also have a variety of other companies, Integris Financial and Actualized Intelligence. Integris Financial is risk managers, wealth management, accounting services. Actualized Intelligence is what Microsoft was to IBM, became the operating system of all computers. We believe Actualized Intelligence will be the operating system of all artificial intelligence. Unblinded is the sales and marketing engine. We build the relationships, so we're like here, and then we nurture the relationships and we share them to Callagy Law, Cavalry, Unblinded, as one sector, Integris Financial, and then ultimately Actualized Intelligence. All one enterprise with different missions with integrity at its core. Who is Callagy Law? Who is Callagy Recovery? Why should we care? And what's your reputation in this space? So let's take you through memory lane. So Callagy Law was created 28 years ago in the great state of New Jersey. And we have 3 different verticals that we work in the healthcare space. On the healthcare law firm side, we do have transactional, we do have litigation, we do have family law, we have some IP, but let's focus for the medical community. On the healthcare legal side of things, we had 3 different buckets, as we like to call them. We had workers' compensation, personal injury protection, and commercial insurance. Quick footnote, we've represented anyone and everyone in the medical community except the insurance companies. We will not be representing those. They would definitely not consider us friends. I wouldn't consider them a foe, but we certainly are not considering them a friend. So in the healthcare space, we worked in Callagy Law, workers' compensation, personal injury protection, and commercial insurance. We've done this in the great state of New Jersey for 28 years. If you took all the other competitors in New Jersey and you slammed them together, we have more of the market share. We have 51% plus of the market share, meaning if you took all our competitors and combined them, we do more work in New Jersey than all of the other competitors in New Jersey combined. So we're like, we got bored. So we started going to New York, we started going to Pennsylvania, Florida, Arizona, Texas, California. We began to expand. We became a multiple 8-figure law firm working in these categories. And then this thing happened called the No Surprises Act. And as you know, it was a wild, wild west at the beginning. It wasn't interpreted correctly. Fees were through the roof. It was like single CPT codes. I'll save you through the history of things. Pretty much it all even keeled and worked beautifully around 2022, 2023, and 2024 became the year. In 28 years, we've recovered $1.17 billion for our medical clients. And when this law passed, we had 180 employees in Callagy Law. We took 80 of them, moved them over, and created Callagy Recovery. Why? Stay tuned. One, it's because Callagy Law is a law firm and can't share revenue with non-lawyers. Callagy Recovery, which is specifically focused on this NSA Fed RDR process out of network arbitrations, is not a law firm, which allowed us to share revenue with non-lawyers. And that matters specifically for my ecosystem partners, that matters specifically for my medical associations with non-dues revenue, and for my clients. It might matter for you if you want to help some of your colleagues. But Callagy Recovery is not a new business. It came from a 28-year-old business. We just moved our teammates, moved them here. We're all in the same building. We have 20,000 square feet here in Paramus. We went from a multiple 8-figure law firm in 7 to 8 states to now having clients in all 50 states. I just recently, as of this video, a week ago, had the privilege of speaking at the Alaska Medical Association to their entire board. That was the last place we got a client. I'm hoping to go see some killer whales. I think that's where they have them, and I want to certainly go see some of those, hang out with them. I don't want to swim with them, but I do want to see them. And right before that was Hawaii, and I mean, Hawaii, period. Who doesn't want to go hang out in Hawaii? I have the privilege of being there multiple times. That is super fun. We saw some dolphins and many other things. I had a 16-foot tiger shark 1 inch from my face with a plexiglass this big. It was insanity. But you're not here to hear about my vacation stories. You're here to learn about medical revenue recovery. So now we're in all 50 states. So just hear this. last month, right now we're in November, as we film this video, November 2025. As of last month, October 2025, we recovered $75.3 million for our medical clients just last month. We're pacing and we're averaging $2 million a day. By December, we'll be doing $100 million per month, which means for all my math people, it took us 28 years to do $1.17 billion for our medical clients. In 2026 alone, we will do $1.2 billion. Pause. Now let me tell you why that's not cool. And let me tell you why you should care. And let me tell you why I'm so passionate about this conversation. Because we were invited, Sean, Tom, our founders, to Washington, D.C. by Health and Human Services to have a private meeting where Sean Callagy, our founder, has been asked by Congress to testify against the insurance companies. One of the congressmen said that what the insurance companies is doing is satanic. I didn't get permission to say which congressman, but I won't say the name, but they said what the insurance company is doing is satanic. What did he mean? What do we mean? Is because as of May, when we got invited, of 25 to that meeting, 90%, 90% of the eligible files, claims, surgeries, encounters that could have been arbitrated through the No Surprises Act are not arbitrated for two reasons. One, lack of education. Two, fear of insurance company retribution. Hence, why I'm passionately sharing these videos and building relationships with medical associations, because there's no way for me to close that gap of lack of education. If I go try to door knock or meet every surgeon in a Dunkin' Donuts, it's going to take me forever, which is why we had the idea in February of working with every statewide medical association to educate them at speed. That 90% of files, claims, surgeries, encounters that are not arbitrated equates to $500 billion a year that insurance companies are stealing from you and or the medical community. So yeah, 1.2 billion next year sounds cool, but the unfortunate reality, it's a pimple on the butt cheek of the problem. And if we don't work together on those two massive pain points, lack of education and fear of insurance company retribution, the insurance companies are gonna keep winning and laughing their way to the bank. So that's a bit about who we are, Callagy Law, Callagy Recovery. Our differences, I explained before, we're all different enterprises. Unblinded Sean Callagy is the founder of Callagy Law, founder of Callagy Recovery, co-founder of Unblinded, co-founder of Integris Financial, co-founder of ACTI. We all do different things. Unblinded is the relationship builder for the entire enterprise. We build and nurture the relationships, and we share them to Callagy Law, we share them to Callagy Recovery, we share them to Integris Financial, and we share them to ACTI. We're not an outside vendor. We're all one integrated ecosystem enterprise of companies. So I hope we answered who's Callagy Law, who's Callagy Recovery, what's our reputation in the space, and why should you care? Because yes, we're one of the top 10 filers in America. We stand for the protection and the narrative that medical providers deserve their independence. That's our mission. What is medical revenue recovery? I don't know what that means, and what is the No Surprises Act? So what do we mean by what is medical revenue recovery? I think it's important to share what we are not, to contextualize what we are. So what we are not is we are not a billing company. Love them. We are not a revenue cycle management company. Love partnering with them. And we're certainly not a collections agency that goes after patients for non-payment. That is not what we are. We are an out-of-network arbitration company that helps out-of-network surgeons doing work in the emergency room, inadvertent providers recover money through a federal system known as the federal IDR system, which was created by a law known as the No Surprises Act. So what is the No Surprises Act? The No Surprises Act is a federal law that was enacted or created in 2020, put into motion in 2022, and the whole purpose of the No Surprises Act was to protect the American people from surprise bills. And some states, 22 I believe, that could have fluctuated a little bit since making this video, have surprise billing laws. Others did not. New York was the first in 2015, and then it went down to like Florida, and then California, and then New Jersey, and then others like Texas and Arizona and Ohio and Illinois began to create their own surprise billing laws known as SBLs. The No Surprises Act nationalized surprise billing laws. And I'll explain more of how that impacts, and I'll give a nice little narrative and a story, but that is what it is. And then the TMA, the Texas Medical Association, was instrumental in the interpretation of these laws. And they had a couple lawsuits known as TMA 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 that took this very beautiful No Surprises Act that was in certain ways still favoring the insurance companies and interpreted it in a way that made sure the medical community can thrive and win powerfully. So that is a bit about what we mean on medical revenue recovery. What is the No Surprises Act? It is a federal law. We're not making it up. Look it up. And the whole purpose was to protect the American people from surprise billing laws. But you're like, well, I'm not like a client, I'm not a patient, what does that have to do with me? It's because one of the other things it created is that it created a system known as IDR, Federal Independent Dispute Resolution System, which gives you, the surgeons, the facilities, the medical providers, the inadvertent providers like IOM and anesthesia, a way to recover money from insurance companies where you're being insanely underpaid. So it created a law to protect the American people, and it created a mechanism that was fair and unbiased, so you didn't have to keep knocking on the door of the insurance companies who didn't want to give you money to start with. And now there's an arbitration. I'll explain more of what that is when I get into the next video, which is the whole model, but it created a forum, a system, the Independent Dispute Resolution System for you, the medical community, or depending on your listening, helping the medical community recover money from insurance companies for underpayment, not denials, underpayment. And it's specifically designed to help out-of-network surgeons that do work in the ER trauma center that deal with patients that have commercial insurance. Listen to the precision. It was designed for, let's call it, two categories. And there's a third, which I'll touch on very little, but there's two that are black and white. It was for out-of-network surgeons doing work in the emergency room trauma center on call that deal with patients that have out-of-network commercial insurance. It is not for Medicaid, Medicare, veteran care, TRICARE. It's specifically for out-of-network commercial insurance. So if you're an employed physician, we may not be able to help you directly, but we would be able to help the facility that employs you. If you're an independent entrepreneurial medical provider, we'd be able to work with you directly. And there's a couple different people we work with directly. One is an individual surgeon. Two is a group of surgeons. Three is any form of facility, a hospital as an example. And then four would be billing companies and revenue cycle management companies. We can work directly with you. You would be considered our clients. You would not be, well, in certain ways, billing and revenue cycle, maybe ecosystem partner. All of you could be ecosystem partners, but ecosystem partners is more of those that support the medical community. What do we mean by that? Medical device salespeople, pharmaceutical salespeople, medical recruiters, medical staffing companies, chiropractors, physical therapists, personal injury attorneys, lawyers, accountants, wealth advisors that work with the medical community, anyone that sells medical software to the medical community. You would be our ideal ecosystem partners because we can work with you to work together to support the medical community. And then, of course, associations are obvious. They're just associations, groups, people that come together that want to teach and educate and advocate for the medical community. So that's a bit about what is medical revenue recovery, what we are, what we're not, what is the No Surprises Act, who is it specifically for? Oh, and I forgot the second category. It's for inadvertent providers, inadvertent auxiliary providers, which would be an example of radiologists, physician assistants, interoperative monitoring companies, and anesthesiologists. So what that means is, let's say you're working with an out-of-network surgeon and you're having an elective surgery, so no surprise bill dynamic, and you want to go have your surgery in an in-network facility so you have no out-of-network dynamics. But when you go into work with your elective out-of-network surgeon, no surprise bill dynamic, in an in-network facility, no surprise dynamic or surprise bill period, but your inadvertent provider, the physician assistant, the radiologist, the intraoperative monitoring, the anesthesiologist, happens to be out of network, they could go through the process of the No Surprises Act and arbitrate, and P.S., the patient is totally taken out of it.
I look forward to hearing from you. I trust that this has been of value, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.